Whenever I think about the meaning of life, when I seek the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, I think of the number 42, thank you. I was sure someone would know that answer. The number 42 is the answer from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. As many have noted before, that answer isn't particularly helpful. Before I ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide, as a young child, I experimented with taking two mirrors and positioning them just so, and then I'd be able to see multiple reflections going back into an infinity of mirrors. It was amazing. And I'd imagine that each reflection was a door into a different universe. I'd wonder if each image of myself was really the same, each one simply responding to whatever Gen Prime happened to do, or whether one of the reflections could break free and do something different. Do we, in our own lives, have true freedom to act, or are we like one of those infinite reflections in the mirror? Or are there other universes where things are similar to ours but not the same? Let's fast forward from my childhood to the 21st century and spend a moment thinking about quantum physics. Some quantum physicists propose that the universe we experience is only one of a multiverse of multiple universes. They think these multiple universes have existed from the earliest moments of the beginning of our universe, that there were multiple universes appearing in much the same way that multiple bubbles appear in a pot of boiling water. Now, I find this idea a little hard to get my head around. And then, just a couple of years ago, quantum physicists did an experiment using argon atoms and a mirror. See, there's that mirror, a mirror. And when the argon atom releases a photon, they discovered that it seems to travel in opposite directions at the same time. Now, I can't explain the details of this experiment, but you can, of course, look it up on the internet. Scientists call this two directions at the same time, different directions at the same time, phenomenon. They call it superposition. The position of the photon is superpositioned because it's not possible to tell whether the photon is moving toward the mirror or away from the mirror until they try to measure the photon's location, to measure its position. So superposition is the possibility, the potential to travel forward or backward. In this challenging conception of reality, scientists who study quantum physics think it's possible that a new universe is created anytime anyone comes to a metaphorical fork in the road when a human being makes a choice that could have gone a different way. And in our own and very singular lives, our choices become real when we make them, which is when we can see where we're going. We come to a fork in the road and we choose one direction, and that's what we know. We can't go back. But in quantum physics, that choice means that in some other version of our lives, in some other universe in the multiverse, we make a different choice. We take the other fork, and a version of the self and of the universe travels in that different direction. Robert Frost, being one traveler, came to a place where two roads diverged in a yellow wood. He chose the road less traveled by, and he said that has made all the difference. In the multiverse, another Robert Frost chose the other road. And I wonder what difference that made and what that universe might look like now. Think. Take a moment to think about all of those moments of decision in our own lives, in the life of the nation, in the life of the world. And imagine the other universes that might be out there. Things might be quite different. Whenever I think about human choices, I wonder about free will. Am I just a predetermined mirror image that has no real power to choose? Or do I have free will? So I don't know the answer to that question, and that's really an entirely different sermon, but multiverse theory suggests a new way to think about free will. The question isn't what choice we will make and whether it is free. The question is, given that all possible choices will be made by some version of ourselves, which self do we choose to be? Which inevitably leads me to John Calvin. During the Protestant Revolution, Protestant theologian John Calvin concluded that everything about the universe fits within a single theological framework based on Hebrew and Christian scriptures. Central to his framework was what we sometimes called predestination. He didn't call it that, but it's the idea that human beings have no free will, no ability to change what is predetermined or predestined, or as Calvin preferred to say, preordained by God. Calvin did believe there was one moment in history when human beings had free will, when things were not preordained. It was in the Garden of Eden, before Adam decided to taste the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Calvin thought that that choice was made freely. He thought it was a bad choice. He thought that that choice brought about the fall of humanity into a state of what he called total depravity, from which we escape only as God ordains. I do not agree. I have trouble with the whole concept of the Garden of Eden and the idea that choosing knowledge is inherently bad. I don't believe there was a fall from a perfect state into depravity. Quite the opposite. I think there has been over billions of years a rising from protozoa, from amoebas, from slime molds and flatworms. Humanity rose from Earth's oceans to a state of reason and the ability to wonder about the meaning of life. I think everything is holy now. The miracle of our existence is a miracle that arose from the processes that started 4.5 billion years ago on Earth, that started 13 billion years ago in the hearts of stars. John Calvin would call me a heretic. But if Calvin could only grasp the idea of the multiverse, he would be forced to contemplate the possibility of multiple Adams, some never faced with the choice of knowledge, some who chose to reject knowledge and remain safely in Eden, and likely a few who found a way to negotiate different terms and conditions with the Creator for continued human residence in Eden. The multiverse possibility that I like the most is the universe in which John Calvin becomes a Unitarian. Think about it. Think about what a different world it would be. John Calvin refuses to call anyone a heretic. He doesn't have anyone burned at the stake. And the Calvinists who eventually land at Plymouth Rock in America believe in love and intercultural competency. They respect the First Nations and cherish their culture and don't drive them from their lands. Native American representatives sign the Declaration of Independence. They have the right to vote from the beginning of our nation. And when the Constitution is adopted, it ends slavery. In the profound words of Yogi Berra, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. The gift of the multiverse is that it can focus our thinking on what really matters, not on esoteric discussions of free will, but we're always making choices. And what we choose from one minute to the next may actually cause a new universe to fork off from our own. What a responsibility. What kind of universe will be the one we find ourselves in? What will we leave to that alternate universe? The most important choice we can make is to pay attention to our choices, to the ordinary events of our lives. In the story of the Good Samaritan, as the Samaritan comes along the road to see the wounded and beaten man lying by the side of the road, there is that moment of choice. In some ways, it's a very ordinary moment. Whether this story is based on a particular real event or not doesn't matter. The story resonates. How many simple acts of kindness have there been in the history of this universe? How many more will there be? How have those acts of kindness shaped our history? How will the many future acts of kindness shape our future? Life calls to us. Life calls to us, and what we love, what we cherish, is identified by the choices we make and how we live. It's up to us to design our lives so that our choices reflect the values we cherish. It's up to us to choose the version of the self we want to be, to choose the self that, when seen in the mirror, reflects our values, values that are visible in the way we live, in the universe we create with those choices. We human beings are always asking, what is the meaning of life? And perhaps we fail to realize that life is asking us, what meaning will you make of your life? The next time you pass a mirror, look for the answer to life's question, because the answer is not so much what we tell ourselves. The answer is in the way we live. Choices. When you come to a fork in the road, take it.